Here's something nobody wants to admit. Back when Canadians had no fitness trackers, no meal plans, and no wellness apps, they were actually moving more, eating better, and staying healthier than we are today. Childhood obesity was practically unheard of. Type 2 diabetes in kids didn't exist, and the average Canadian walked more steps in a single day than most of us hit in a week now. So what were they doing that we're not? That's the uncomfortable part, because the answer isn't some secret superfood or lost exercise routine. It's simpler than that, and more embarrassing. Everything that kept them healthy we deliberately abandoned, not because it stopped working, but because life changed, and we let these habits slip away without realizing what we were losing. Today we're uncovering 20 forgotten habits that kept Canadians healthier in the past. The soup and sandwich lunch. Picture this. You're sitting in a classroom that smells like chalk dust and floor wax. The radiator's clanking. It's -20 outside, and when the lunch bell rings, you unscrew that dented metal thermos and steam rises up carrying the smell of chicken noodle or tomato soup your mom poured in at 7 that morning. Maybe there's a bologna sandwich wrapped in wax paper, maybe an apple that's gone a bit warm. That was lunch for millions of Canadian kids from the 60s right through the 80s. This wasn't gourmet, but here's what it did. It kept you full. The warm soup meant you weren't hunting for snacks an hour later. The sandwich gave you something to chew. The apple was just there because that's what fit in the box. No one was counting calories or reading labels. It was just food that filled you up and kept you going until dinner. Why did it vanish? Mornings got busier. Both parents started working more. Cafeterias began offering hot lunches. Fast food restaurants started popping up near schools. Suddenly, packing a thermos every single morning felt like one more thing on an already impossible list. The soup lunch didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because life sped up and left it behind. Packed lunches as the default. Brown paper bags, wax paper wrapping, leftovers from last night's dinner tucked into a container. For decades, this was just what you did. You didn't buy lunch, you brought lunch. Your mom packed it, or your dad did, or you did it yourself once you hit high school. It wasn't about being thrifty or health conscious. It was just normal. And because it was normal, something interesting happened. You ate more predictable portions. There were no vending machines tempting you with chips, no lunch line where you could grab 3 cookies and a pop. You ate what was in the bag, and that was that. Sometimes you traded your granola bar for someone's fruit roll-up, but mostly you just ate what you brought. This habit faded as eating on the run became standard. Grab-and-go culture took over. Convenience foods exploded in variety and availability. By the 90s, packing lunch started to feel old-fashioned, even a bit embarrassing for some kids who wanted to buy what their friends were buying. The packed lunch didn't lose because it was wrong. It lost because convenience won. Pop was a treat, not a beverage. In the 70s, if a 2-liter bottle of Coke showed up in your house, something was happening. Birthday party, pizza night, Canada Day barbecue. Pop wasn't what you drank with dinner on a Tuesday. It was special. It was for occasions. Most days, you drank milk, water, or maybe juice if your family splurged. And because pop was rare, you didn't consume nearly as much liquid sugar. Your body wasn't dealing with a constant flood of sweetness. You got a treat when it mattered, and the rest of the time you drank boring stuff that didn't spike anything. What changed? Vending machines, bigger bottle sizes, 24-hour corner stores. By the 90s, pop was everywhere, all the time, in sizes that kept getting larger. A 64-ounce fountain drink became normal. What used to be a party treat became an everyday beverage. The sugar crept in so gradually that we didn't notice until it was just part of the routine. Milk at school, tiny cartons, that weird triangle flap you had to push in, the smell of cold milk mixed with cafeteria floor cleaner. If you went to school in Canada during the 70s or 80s, chances are you bought milk at lunch or recess. School milk programs expanded across the country. Nova Scotia started theirs in 1974, And for years, milk was just the default drink option. It was simple. It was filling. And compared to the sugary drinks that would flood the market later, it was a pretty solid choice for growing kids. You didn't think about calcium or protein. You just knew milk came with lunch, same as recess came after second period. These programs faded for a bunch of reasons. Logistics got complicated, costs went up, nutrition debates got louder. Some people started questioning dairy, others worried about kids who were lactose intolerant. And as more beverage choices flooded schools, milk lost its default status. It went from automatic to optional, and eventually, in many places, it just disappeared from the routine altogether. Real breakfast culture, toast and eggs, a bowl of oatmeal with brown sugar. Even the sugary cereals back then were simpler, less processed, fewer ingredients. Breakfast wasn't a granola bar you ate in the car, it was something you sat down for, even if just for 10 minutes. And that mattered. Starting the day with actual food, protein, some fat, some fiber, meant your energy didn't crash by 10 in the morning. You weren't hunting for snacks before lunch. Your body had fuel that lasted. This habit eroded slowly. Commutes got longer. Mornings got more rushed. Grab-and-go breakfast options exploded. Muffins the size of softballs. Breakfast sandwiches you could eat with one hand while driving. The microwave made it easy to skip the stove entirely. Breakfast didn't disappear, but the sit-down, made-from-scratch version became a weekend luxury instead of a weekday norm. Walking to school. You put on your snow pants, you zipped up your parka, you waddled out the door and walked. Sometimes it was 6 blocks, sometimes it was 15 minutes through a park. If it was winter, you kicked snowbanks and complained about the cold. If it was spring, you jumped puddles. But you walked. And here's the thing, nobody called it exercise, it was just getting to school. But it was also free cardio twice a day, 5 days a week. Your body moved without you thinking about it. You didn't need a gym membership or a fitness tracker. You just walked because that's how you got places. Why did it stop? Schools consolidated, which meant longer distances. More families got second cars. Suburbs spread out, and suddenly walking wasn't realistic anymore. Parents got busier, and driving kids to school became part of the morning chaos. Safety worries grew, whether justified or not, and walking alone felt riskier to a lot of parents. The walk to school didn't disappear because kids got lazy. It disappeared because the infrastructure and culture changed. Outdoor play until dark. No one texted you to come home. Your mom just yelled from the porch when it was time for dinner. Until then, you were outside, playing tag, riding bikes, building snow forts, playing street hockey with a tennis ball, and boots for goalie pads. This wasn't structured. There was no coach, no schedule, no parent supervising every second. You just played for hours, and all that movement added up. You were running, climbing, balancing, getting your heart rate up without anyone tracking your steps. This faded for a lot of reasons. Indoor entertainment got way more appealing. Video games, cable TV, and eventually the internet. Parents became more cautious about letting kids roam unsupervised. Schedules got tighter with more organized activities. And honestly, fewer kids were outside, so there were fewer kids to play with. The culture shifted, and suddenly, go outside and play wasn't the automatic answer anymore. Winter as a sports season. Canadians didn't just endure winter, they used it. Skating on outdoor rinks that someone's dad flooded in the backyard or the park. Shinny games that went until your fingers went numb. Tobogganing down every decent hill in town, building forts and having snowball wars that could last all afternoon. Winter wasn't something to hide from, it was free training. Your legs got stronger from skating, your core got a workout from balancing on ice. Your cardiovascular system worked harder just from being out in the cold. You weren't trying to get fit, you were just playing. But your body was absolutely getting a workout. What changed? More indoor entertainment pulled kids inside. Outdoor rinks became harder to maintain. Some winters got milder in certain regions, and municipalities cut recreation budgets. Screen time exploded. Winter stopped being a playground and started being an obstacle to get through until spring. Canadians still love winter sports, but the casual, everyday engagement faded for a lot of families. Telling and preparing this video took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the video. Chores that counted: shoveling snow, raking leaves, carrying groceries from the car, mowing the lawn with a push mower that actually required pushing. These weren't workouts, they were just things that needed doing, but they built strength. They kept you moving. Shoveling a driveway is serious work. Your shoulders, your back, your legs all get involved. Raking leaves for an hour burns real calories. Carrying bags of groceries up apartment stairs builds muscle, whether you intend it to or not. These chores didn't vanish entirely, but they got outsourced. Snow removal services became common. Yards got smaller, or people hired lawn care companies. Power tools made everything faster and easier, which also meant less effort required. People got busier and started paying others to handle the physical labor. The movement that used to be unavoidable became optional, and a lot of us opted out. Participaction. If you grew up in Canada in the 70s or 80s, you remember the ads, bodies in motion, catchy slogans. The message was everywhere: move more, get active, it's good for you. Participaction launched in the fall of 1971, and for 3 decades it was part of the national conversation about health. The campaign made activity feel urgent and normal. It wasn't preachy, it just reminded you that moving mattered. Schools picked it up. Community centers ran programs. The idea that fitness was something all Canadians should care about became part of the culture. Participaction ceased operations in 2001, though it relaunched years later. Why did it fade the first time? Funding and organizational changes played a role. But also, the media landscape shifted. Messages got fragmented across more channels. The unified national voice got harder to maintain. The habit of hearing that consistent "get moving" message disappeared, and with it, some of the cultural pressure to actually do it. Rec center culture. Community centers were where you went. Public swim on Tuesday nights, skating on Saturdays, drop-in badminton, pottery classes. It was cheap, sometimes almost free, and it was social. You saw neighbors, you made friends. And while you were hanging out, you were also moving. The rec center wasn't a gym. It didn't have fancy equipment or personal trainers, but it gave you a reason to show up and be active regularly. And because it was community-based, there was a built-in social structure. You went because your friends went. Your kids went because their friends went. The consistency mattered. Budget cuts hit recreation funding hard over the years. New entertainment options, video games, streaming services, home gyms gave people more reasons to stay home. And as life got busier, that weekly trip to the rec center started feeling like one more obligation instead of the default leisure activity. The centers are still there in many places, but the culture of automatically showing up faded. Minor sports as a weekly routine: hockey, ringette, soccer, baseball. Community leagues were everywhere. Registration was affordable, practices were local, games were on weekends. It wasn't about going pro or getting scouted, it was just something kids did. And because it was a routine, practice Tuesday and Thursday, game on Saturday, it guaranteed movement. You weren't sitting around wondering if you felt like exercising. You just showed up because it was Tuesday and you had practice. The structure did the work for you. This started to shift as sports got more expensive, travel teams emerged, and suddenly, serious sports required bigger commitments and bigger budgets. Families got busier, and coordinating schedules became harder. Some kids dropped out because it cost too much. Others dropped out because it felt too competitive, too young. The casual, everybody plays community league vibe faded as sports became more specialized and intense. Neighborhood go-outside norm. There was a time when it was just expected that kids would be outside. Adults didn't helicopter. They told you to go play and be back by dinner. There was social pressure in a good way. If you were sitting inside on a nice day, someone's mom would tell you to get outside and get some fresh air. That cultural norm meant movement happened automatically. You weren't motivated by fitness goals. You were just doing what everyone else was doing. The community reinforced the habit. This changed as indoor technology got better and more engaging. Safety concerns, whether statistically justified or not, made parents more reluctant to let kids roam freely. The expectation flipped. Instead of, "Why aren't you outside?" it became, "Where exactly are you and who are you with?" Supervision got tighter, and the free-range outdoor childhood became rarer. The norm shifted, and with it, the automatic outdoor time disappeared. Potlucks, not takeout nights, church potlucks, community dinners, team end-of-season gatherings. Someone brought a casserole, someone brought a salad, someone brought squares. You ate together slowly, talking and laughing, and most of the food was homemade. This mattered because home-prepared food tends to be less processed. Portions were reasonable, and the social aspect meant you ate slower, which is better for digestion and satiety. Plus, you connected with people, which is its own kind of health benefit. Potlucks faded as people got busier. Cooking from scratch felt like too much work when you could just grab takeout or order pizza. Community rhythms changed. Fewer people attended the same church or belonged to the same clubs. The casual, regular gathering became a special occasion instead of a weekly routine. We still do potlucks sometimes, but they're not the default community meal anymore. Weekend camping and cabin trips. Long weekends meant packing up the car and heading out, camping at a provincial park, visiting a family cabin, going fishing, hiking to a lake. It wasn't exotic or expensive. It was just what Canadians did with their free time. And while you were out there, you were moving, setting up a tent, hauling water, walking trails, swimming in cold lakes, chopping firewood. Your body worked, and you breathed fresh air, and there were no screens to distract you. This tradition still exists, but it's less common than it used to be. Costs went up: gas, park fees, equipment. Weekends became packed with errands and obligations. And honestly, staying home with Wi-Fi and streaming services became more appealing to a lot of families. The Go Touch Grass weekend trip became something you did a couple times a summer instead of every long weekend. Tap water as the default drink. You were thirsty, you went to the sink, you filled a glass, you drank it. Done. Tap water was just what you drank at home, at school, at the water fountain in the park. Many communities fluoridated their water. By 2007, about 45% of Canadians had access to fluoridated community water, which helped with dental health without anyone thinking about it. Tap water didn't cost anything. It didn't come with marketing. It was just there, and it was fine. You weren't consuming liquid calories or artificial sweeteners. You were just hydrating. This shifted as bottled drinks exploded in variety and availability. Marketing convinced people that water should have flavor, or bubbles, or vitamins added. Concerns about tap water quality, some justified, some not, made people less trusting. By the time bottled water became trendy, tap water started to feel boring or even suspect. The simple, free option got replaced by endless choices that cost money and added packaging waste. Earlier bedtimes, television used to end. There was the national anthem, maybe a test pattern, and then nothing. The signal just stopped. And when there was nothing left to watch, you went to bed. Nobody had phones buzzing with notifications all night. Nobody was binge-watching 6 episodes of anything. The evening naturally wrapped up because there was a built-in end point. And while this didn't guarantee perfect sleep for everyone, it did mean that many families got more rest simply because there were fewer reasons to stay awake. This disappeared with cable, 24-hour programming, and eventually streaming services that autoplay the next episode. Phones brought infinite scrolling. The internet made it possible to be stimulated at any hour. Bedtimes got later because there was no natural stopping point anymore. We had to create boundaries that used to just exist automatically. Home cooking with basic ingredients, big pots of stew, casseroles, rice and potatoes, roast chicken that lasted for 3 meals. Meals were built from staples, not from boxes, with ingredient lists you couldn't pronounce. This mattered because whole ingredients, meat, vegetables, grains, are more filling and less processed than most convenience foods. You ate what was on your plate, and it kept you full for hours. There was no constant snacking because the meals actually satisfied you. Home cooking faded as convenience foods flooded the market. Microwaves made heating pre-made meals effortless. Both parents working meant less time to spend at the stove, and honestly, the food industry got really good at making processed food taste good and feel necessary. Home cooking didn't disappear entirely, but it stopped being the automatic daily routine for a lot of households. Seasonal eating and local shopping. Strawberries in June, corn in August, apples in the fall. You ate what was in season because that's what was available and affordable. Roadside farm stands, local markets. Produce that came from nearby, not from halfway around the world. This meant less constant variety. You didn't snack on 18 different fruits year-round. You ate what was there, and when it was gone, you moved on to the next thing. The whole food focus and the natural limits on variety probably meant better nutrition without anyone trying. Year-round imports changed everything. Supermarkets started carrying everything all the time. Globalization made it possible to buy grapes in January and asparagus in December. The abundance was amazing in some ways, but it also meant losing that connection to seasons and local food cycles. Eating locally became a choice you made intentionally instead of just how things worked. Canada's Food Guide, as a household reference. There was a pamphlet. It sat in your school cafeteria or your kitchen drawer. Canada's Food Guide, official editions in 1961, 1977, 1982, and the 1992 Canada's Food Guide to Healthy Eating. It wasn't perfect, and nutrition science has evolved since then, but it was a shared reference point. Everyone was looking at the same basic advice. The guide gave simple structure to eating: grains, dairy, protein, fruits, and vegetables. It wasn't complicated. You didn't need to be a nutrition expert to understand it. And because it was official and widely distributed, it shaped school lunches, hospital meals, and family dinner planning. So why did it fade? Nutrition became a battlefield. Low carb, low fat, paleo, keto, everyone had a different theory. The internet gave everyone a platform to share conflicting advice. People stopped trusting official guidance and started following influencers instead. The simple shared reference point got drowned out by noise. The guide still exists in updated forms, but the cultural trust in it as the default source of food wisdom largely disappeared. So which of these 20 habits hits closest to home for you? Was it the soup and sandwich lunch your mom packed every morning, the walk to school through February snow, the rec center nights that got you moving without even thinking about it? Drop a comment and let us know which one disappeared fastest in your town. And if you want more forgotten Canadian nostalgia that'll make you say, "I remember that," hit subscribe.